Okay, this is an interesting one. So sustainability is taken on quite a renewed importance for modern shoppers. Customers are becoming more aware of the role their purchasing decisions have on the Earth's limited resources. So how can brands find ways to weave sustainable practices into their products, their fulfillment strategies, and their marketing? I think Alex Weston will kick this one off with you.
It's such an interesting topic, and obviously, with David Attenborough and all of the different things that are happening around, being more environmentally conscious, it's absolutely massive with being more sustainable. I think one area that isn't kind of focused on outside of like recyclable packaging and all of those types of things is secondhand goods. It's an area where a lot of merchants have started to put in some effort. So basically like reselling items to new owners to kind of extend the shelf life of some of those goods. This obviously can be a massive adaptation for retailers to start some of these things, and it's not really right for every retailer. But talking about things like buyback schemes, so a way that retailers can kind of extend the life of their products. If consumers can return an item, it can either be resold to someone else, donated to a charity, or recycled into a new product that can be sold by the retailer again. So ethically speaking, I guess this is probably one of the best ways that that retailers can be involved in some more sustainable practices. There's some really, really innovative stuff in this kind of realm as well. So there's the whole idea of kind of re-commerce. I think there's a company in the US called Rent the Runway. And basically you can rent evening wear or occasion wear, and then you have the option to buy it after you've worn it for the event that you wear it for. But obviously for a company, that means that they only have to kind of hold a limited amount of stock, because they're probably going to get these items back. They know they're going to get it back as well. So this idea of re-commerce or kind of recycling or reselling products that people have been buying are really interesting. So I think John Lewis is actually a household name that a lot of people might recognize, obviously, of someone who's kind of launched this recently, a buyback initiative of products that have been bought. I think you have to have bought them from John Lewis, but they'll buy them back from you again and recycle them. And that can obviously increase the longevity of the products that can be reused, but obviously means that retailers can be more conscious of the fact that they can recycle some of those materials as well. I was actually looking today at a company called the London Stock Exchange. So they've actually built recycling and donation into their business model. So if you check them out, as part of their subscription to socks, once you're kind of done with them, you can send them back, and if they're good enough and in still good enough condition, they'll donate them to a charity. And if they're not, then they'll recycle the materials and make it into another textile for use somewhere else. So yes, it's a really interesting area. And then just outside of that, we also work with companies like Natural Baby Shower. They've focused on reducing plastic packaging, offering products made with sustainable or recycled materials, or participating in completely outside of that, like charitable missions outside of their core business as well. So I think there's other ways that you can weave sustainability and other kind of charitable missions, not even necessarily within the business model like the stock exchange does, but to other companies it's completely at the core. So a company that we work with called Weaver Green, they make their rugs completely out of recycled water bottles. So it's like there's two ends of the spectrum. I think you can touch on things that are more like charitable endeavors, but you can also just have it as the core of your business, and the whole thing is just made out of recycled water bottles is a really cool way to be more sustainable and kind of do good for the earth as well. So definitely a really interesting area of e-commerce, and a few different ways that retailers are kind of helping out with that.
Yeah, definitely. Put up the link to the sock website on the chat.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll shoot it over. Yeah, that's cool.
Good. Simon, do you want to go next?
It was interesting following on from the water bottle thing. I was just thinking then about where I've touched upon brands or products that have made me go, ooh, and they're also got an ethical bent to it. I was doing research for a pitch for us, and I was looking at recycled products, and there's a company in London called Elvis and Kress spelt Kresse. They make high spec handbags and wallets and stuff out of recycled fire hoses. And their brand story is so spot on. I don't know how they came across it, but typically what happens with an old fire hose, it just goes straight into landfill. There's not much else you can do with it. But they can craft handbags and wallets. These are not cheap, by the way. But again, it's a premium item, and they're pitching it at that. And their Facebook marketing was bob on. As soon as I'd hit their site, I was getting really rich content to my Facebook feed over and over again, really spot on stories and talking about donations that they would make. They donate, I think, 50% of the profits to fire brigade charities, something like that. Really, really very interesting. I've not bought anything from them yet, so I don't use handbags. I mean, this isn't that keen either. But here I am telling you about it. And that whole word of mouth thing is somebody on this call is going to go and look at that site and think, well, you know what, they're really quite nice. And they are. It's really nice stuff. They take the metal bits off the hose as well, and they make brass candle holders, which look really amazing as well. So they've got a real heritage story there. On the other end of it, one thing I found was I like my music, and I like quite loud, noisy music. So there is particular bands that I follow, and they're super principled. All their shirts are, T-shirts are made with guaranteed ethically sourced, no sweatshop stuff. But they're turning out these sweatshirts, T-shirts, not sweatshops, T-shirts, cheaper and better. The quality of the cotton is bob on. The prints stay really well. It washes really well. But it was actually cheaper than other bands who were sort of like perhaps pushing the profit pretty hard as well. So that's what's affecting me as slightly grizzled 50-year-old that I'm noticing in that demographic. And then conversations with my children as well. I've got an 18-year-old daughter who's extremely focused on how she dresses, but she's, you know, perhaps influenced by me and a mother, but it's not about Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing for us. It's looking at old styles, etc. So she loves a rummage around an old charity shop or something like that, finding unique pieces. And I'm thinking about where she can buy products. So I couldn't swear as to what percentage of the market is being driven by this. There's going to be so many people who are going to be going, I need something for tomorrow night when we're allowed to go out for a drink, and I want it to be £3 and I want it delivered in the morning, then I'm going to send it back. That market will be very difficult to ship. But there's an increasingly growing, powerful market around the brand story, the ethics, the sustainability of it. And I can see a lot of entrants coming into this over the next couple of years, certainly driven by some of the thinking out of lockdown.
Simon. Tracy?
Yeah, it's a shame actually that we couldn't bring our shopper marketing manager on as well, because she's working on a sustainability project at the minute. We are, I think we've now successfully, Hala might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but we now successfully got rid of all our plastic packaging, or we're in the process of working with a business to remove all plastic from our Remington brand packaging. So we've got a packaging sustainability project ongoing at the moment, and know that it's had the sustainability element has had quite an impact on certain products that we sell on Amazon. They do like a frustration-free packaging like project, whereby again theirs has to that packaging has to meet certain sustainability criteria, and you have to meet certain regulations and things like that. And but in the side of that some people don't see when they just think of it as sustainability is that product then becomes a product in its own right on Amazon that nobody else can, because on Amazon it's a marketplace as well as selling to Amazon, selling on Amazon. You've got that competition from third-party sellers. When you are part of their frustration-free packaging or sustainable packaging programs, like the SIOC and things like that, that gives you exclusivity essentially limits the competition on that platform, which we all know is fairly significant in terms of the number of shoppers that are on there. So yeah, and I mean, Simon then was just talking about his daughter, and it's really quite funny because we've got daughters that are the same age and are very, very similar in terms of characteristics. They are you know, not the traditional pretty little thing boohoo, although, you know, maybe a few years ago when she was finishing high school, she was very much influenced by her peers. Now she's kind of taken a different path, and you tended to find that she will do a similar thing, go for one-off pieces, and they are, when you speak to them about, and we kind of see it from a different light because we do e-commerce day in, day out, right? So we tend to overthink or overanalyze the way they behave online, and the things that the shops that they go to, and the things that make that drive their purchase decisions. And I see it a lot with my daughter when I watch how she interacts with brands and what she buys and where she buys from, and a rationale behind certain things and the things that she talks about. There was a lady that she was into kind of creating charity shop clothing, and or basically taking old clothing and making new clothing out of old things, you know, different materials. And she during the first lockdown took to, instead of make t-shirts, bikinis, and all kinds of other things that she would make as part of this Facebook business, and that she had her own small kind of micro e-commerce store, as it were. She started making face masks out of old clothing. So obviously they would be washed with, you know, the disinfecting powders and all the rest of it that kill all the bacteria. And then they were making face masks before face masks were even, you know, when it was still a thing, the way you were looked at in the street like you'd lost your mind because you were wearing a face mask. She was doing this, she cottoned onto this.
Alex's point, you know, the whole reloved piece actually really interests me. And I got a note from Barber the other day launching their reloved range, and I do think that will be an interesting new avenue for people upcycling things. I think it really will be an area that some people can capitalize on. But I'll tell you what, I mean, I think equally Simon's point about the split between people who value their ethics, who value, you know, the sustainability type angle, versus those who are focused on convenience. I want it now, I want it quick, I want it cheap, I want it disposable. And I think, you know, we will see people competing in different areas based on that. But I definitely feel that there will be more of a focus on the values and ethics side of things, and obviously sustainability will be a huge part of that. And personally, my big bugbear is when I order something like that, you know, that comes in a little box and it comes in a massive package surrounded by plastic or polystyrene padding, which is all going to go straight to landfill ultimately. You know, that frustrates me, and that is enough to make me as a consumer not order from a brand. And I think that's probably one area where a lot of brands do need to think very carefully. I get it's a pain to have multiple boxes and from a pick, pack and dispatch point of view, you know, picking the right one. But I think that is an area where a lot of brands and you know, retailers will hopefully start to think a bit more carefully about how they do package, how they do fulfill that. Because certainly for me, it's a bit of a turn-off for a brand if they are overly using, you know, non-biodegradable materials.
Can I ask a question on that, Alex, about what your thoughts are in terms of it, you know, shopper choice versus it being enforced? Because Steve Beckett's posted a link in the chat, which is a news article, and I actually saw it this morning, and it relates to the industry that I'm in, which is appliances. And I know that there was an EU law. It looks like they're bringing it into UK law as well, but it was an EU law where they talked about making certain domestic appliances last for 10 years, and they have like a consumer right to repair. So if you buy a washing machine and it breaks down within 10 years, the manufacturer, the consumer has a right to repair. So obviously that feeds into that sustainability issue. And yes, whilst you have got like quite at the moment a significant audience that are really based on that convenience, that will shop on Amazon and have the driver make multiple trips with small boxes in huge boxes, like you've just said, you're gonna get them. But do you feel maybe that this might be this sustainability piece might be become more of a law or enforced by like the EU or by the UK government moreover than it become about consumer choice? I mean, I know I've read lots about sustainability, about up and coming the next gen of e-commerce shoppers. Sustainability is becoming more and more of an important thing, and if that's not enough to make brands react, maybe the law will trump that and the law will come first.
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, our government has some pretty tough targets on itself to improve environmental sustainability. We just need to look at the 2030 electric cars rule. And actually, I think it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with HGVs and stuff at the minute, because rather randomly, I know someone who owns a haulage firm, and I'm hearing that from a haulage and even farming community way, there is no real electric alternative. The restrictions are too great there. It's too difficult. So I think it will be interesting to see what the government does from that point of view. I can totally sympathise with that, by the way. So I've literally just had about 2.5-year-old dishwasher pack up, and it was perfectly good apart from one thing on the board's gone. And AO told me I had to throw it away. And that was it. Order a brand new one. And it does seem like such a ridiculous waste. I personally, on a personal level, am hugely in favour of a sort of right to repair type law. But whether the government will go for that, that's a tough one. I think they've also will be pushing to try and make the economy move as quickly as possible right now. So whether that will be a bit contrary to that drive, I guess waits to be seen.
I guess it's finding that balance. They've been known to do U-turns before, haven't they? So what they might be enforcing now in a right to repair law, you never know. They might pull the plug when it's not generating them enough in the economy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I guess in a way it's whether the two are mutually exclusive. Like my fridge broke after 2.5 years just the other week, similar to your dishwasher, Alex, and I was absolutely fuming about it, but I also like still the convenient buying on Amazon. But I guess my point is that can you be a sustainable shopper and someone who buys into these kind of brands and still enjoy the convenience of things like Amazon? Are they mutually exclusive? I don't know. Maybe there'll be some kind of convergence of the two sort of buying habits at some point, and the market will kind of force us to go that kind of route. But I think it's definitely a really interesting time to be discussing these two things, because they are almost kind of a paradox in themselves. So
I do think that. Sorry, go on, Alex.
I was going to say I did buy into the AO lovely insurance afterwards, in part because I thought, well, at least they might be inclined to repair the damn thing if it goes again, because they're probably going to prefer to put their hand in their pocket for a part and a fix rather than tell me I need an entirely new machine.
Yeah.
True. But anyway, sorry, Tracy.
Well, we're actually that's part of what we're doing with this new with the project that we're undertaking at the moment. It's not just about e-commerce and selling stuff, although that's great, and that's the utopia, because that is what pays the bills after all, is the product sales. But as part of the project that we're undertaking now, we're overhauling our product registration process, in terms of when consumers come on at the moment, because it's not a great UX, and it's not at the moment with our current site. People can either take it or leave it, but actually our products do come with fairly decent, for small domestic appliances, they come with quite significant warranties, and certain money back guarantees and things like that, and we're making that registration process easier, and we are streamlining, and we've got which is part of a bigger company project in terms of our overall customer services, in making warranty claims for faulty products, and when things go wrong, and when things aren't quite right and aren't quite as they should be, to try and dispel that disposable consumerism that we have, where it's not kind of a make, do, amend culture like it was back in the day, and essentially what that opens up is a world of opportunity for us in terms of spare part sales, and because we do run the risk of, if our products aren't lasting the duration, and they're kind of getting killed off within 2 years, then we've got the problem of, people are going to go, it didn't last as long as I wanted it to, it didn't perform, I'm going to go and buy a competitor brand, for example, and then we lose them to competitors, whereby if we do buy into this kind of life cycle of the product, extending the life cycle of the product, it opens up opportunities for replacement parts and spares, kettle filters, those kind of things. So what it might